The Philippines has left many people astonished with a series of bizarre regulations, such as banning gossiping, prohibiting divorce, or even forbidding bargaining over women's jeans, making it one of the countries with the strangest laws in the world. In this video, we're going to explore 15 forbidden things and bizarre stories in the Philippines that you may find hard to believe are actually real. Number 15. No comparing people to animals. Sometimes I used to joke that children were as adorable as little pandas, but after learning about this rule in the Philippines, I started feeling quite uneasy about the kinds of comparisons I had made before. Even if it is only meant as teasing or harmless fun, comparing Filipinos to any kind of animal is considered inappropriate. They may think you are insulting and disrespecting them, especially if you compare them to monkeys or pigs. Many Filipinos are Muslim, and being compared to a pig is considered extremely offensive. In Islam, pigs are viewed as unclean animals, and they even avoid eating pork altogether. So if you say someone looks like a pig, they will immediately assume you are insulting them and calling them filthy. You could even risk being attacked on the spot. Therefore, when visiting this country, it is best not to casually compare anyone to any animal, because sometimes even a joke can turn into serious trouble. Number 14. No gossiping. Gossiping is something completely normal in many places, but in the Philippines, you need to be especially careful because simply gossiping can result in serious punishment. It sounds ridiculous, but this is absolutely true. In the Philippines, gossiping can be punished under local regulations intended to make people responsible for what they say. First-time offenders may be fined 200 pesos and required to spend 3 hours picking up trash on the streets, while repeat offenders can be fined up to $20 and forced to do 8 hours of community service. The law does not clearly define what counts as gossip, but authorities have used stories about other people's family relationships or financial situations as examples of punishable behavior. What is even more surprising is that this regulation is not new. It has been enforced in the Moreno district on the outskirts of Manila since 2017. Many residents were fined up to 500 pesos and had to spend an entire afternoon cleaning up trash simply because they were gossiping. After that, almost nobody repeated the offense because no one wanted to be labeled as someone who enjoys spreading rumors and talking behind people's backs. This law was introduced during the summer, the season when rumors spread most easily because people often gather in the shade chatting about everything, from affairs to other people's debts. Clearly, gathering around to talk badly about others is not a good thing. But banning all citizens from gossiping is truly something unbelievable that seems to exist only in this country. Number 13. Don't shake hands too firmly. In the Philippines, when meeting business partners or people of the same age, you can absolutely greet them with a handshake, but you should never squeeze their hand too hard. That action may be seen as unfriendly, aggressive, and even rude. A handshake that is too firm can make the other person feel uncomfortable or pressured. Everyone has their own personal space, and gripping someone's hand too tightly is sometimes viewed as violating that comfort zone. This style of handshake is also considered unprofessional and lacking in sophistication. Instead, you should shake hands gently and naturally, avoiding any impression of dominance or discomfort. Respect and subtlety in communication are highly valued in creating a positive and pleasant atmosphere. Remember that Filipinos are quite sensitive, and there are still many other things about communicating with them that I need to share with you. Number 12. Python massage. Just seeing a python is enough to terrify many people. However, a zoo in the Philippines attracted attention by turning these giant reptiles into massage therapists. Whenever people feel stressed or exhausted, many usually go for a massage to relax. But allowing a giant python, a predator that kills its prey by squeezing it to death, to serve you is a completely different story. If you are brave enough, you can visit a zoo in Cebu City, Philippines, to experience this strange and terrifying form of relaxation. There can even be up to 4 massage therapists working on you at the same time, each around 5 meters long and weighing up to 250 kilograms. This bizarre business idea not only sparked curiosity but also produced surprisingly impressive results. The manager of Cebu Zoo said, "At first, most visitors are extremely frightened, but those who dare to try it afterward all say they absolutely loved the experience." Number 11. Dining taboos. Filipino cuisine is truly delicious, But before enjoying the food there, you should remember a few important things. First, if you invite someone out to eat, it is automatically assumed that you will pay for the entire meal. Splitting the bill or letting the invited guest pay is considered rather impolite and lacking in courtesy. Filipino culture shares many similarities with Latin and Spanish culture, so people often have light snacks before sitting down for the main meal. In addition, during meals, Filipinos usually enjoy dishes separately instead of eating many dishes together at the same time, like Chinese people often do. You should also note that Filipinos almost never follow the kind of formal politeness often seen at dining tables elsewhere. They eat very naturally and comfortably, so you should also feel free to eat as normally as possible. Don't be too surprised if Filipino girls end up eating even more than you do. Honestly, I really like this relaxed attitude about them, because it makes dates feel much more enjoyable and natural, instead of constantly worrying about how the other person is judging you. Number 10. Communication taboos. Once again, I want to remind you to be extremely careful with your words. The Philippines is a multicultural country, so forms of address and communication are taken very seriously here. People pay close attention to hierarchy, hometown, gender, and social class when interacting with one another. Each social group has its own way of addressing people, so you should not casually call or speak to locals however you like. Hurtful remarks, even if they are only intended as jokes, are considered a major taboo in communication in the Philippines. If someone asks you to do something you do not want to do, you can absolutely say no, or politely decline with phrases like, "I'm busy at the moment." Besides spoken language, Filipinos also communicate a great deal through body language. They often use gestures to express emotions instead of words. For example, when they agree with your opinion, they may raise their eyebrows. Each person has their own way of expressing themselves, so you should not be too surprised if people react differently from one another. The best thing you can do is always maintain a respectful and open-minded attitude in order to avoid unnecessary trouble in this country. Number 9. No pointing at other people. No matter how angry you are, you should be careful about pointing when you are in the Philippines, because even directing a single finger at someone can get you into serious trouble. Pointing at others is already considered rude and uncomfortable in many places. In the Philippines, however, this action is regarded as extremely disrespectful, so you should absolutely avoid it. If you want to call someone, say their name directly or walk closer to speak with them. Do not point or make gestures that may seem inappropriate or disrespectful to them. As I mentioned earlier, Filipinos are very sensitive in communication and also have a strong sense of pride. Therefore, just one inappropriate action from you may be enough to make them lose their temper, and you can probably imagine what might happen next. It is not only hot-tempered men you should be careful around. Filipino women are truly people you do not want to provoke. Number 8. Destroying supercars. Look at the screen, because the following images will definitely make you feel heartbroken. These photos were taken in the Philippines, and just as you can see, millions of dollars worth of property is being destroyed without mercy. In 2021, Philippine customs authorities destroyed a total of 21 vehicles. Among them were expensive names such as the McLaren 620R, Bentley Flying Spur, and Porsche 911. There were also many other notable models, including the Mercedes-Benz SLK, Lotus Elise, Hyundai Genesis Coupe, and Toyota Solara. Even 14 Mitsubishi Jeeps were destroyed in the same operation. These vehicles had been imported into the Philippines by various individuals and were confiscated between 2018 and 2020. Afterward, all of them were destroyed under orders from the president. After witnessing mountains of valuable assets being crushed, many people questioned why the government did not auction off these vehicles and use the money for more meaningful purposes. However, the Philippine authorities seemed uninterested in that option and believed destruction was still the best solution. Number 7. No having children before marriage. While in many parts of the world it has become fairly normal for single women to raise children on their own, in the Philippines this is still considered contrary to social standards and is almost entirely unacceptable. In the Philippines, the belief that women must get married before having children still exists very strongly. Older generations always believe that it is the responsibility of young people to continue the family bloodline. The mindset that women must become mothers comes from the way Philippine society views the role of women. At the same time, society also expects women to become wives before becoming mothers. This way of thinking creates a great deal of pressure and difficulty for women, especially those over the age of 30. Movements fighting for women's rights continue to take place in hopes of creating more opportunities for people who want to live differently from traditional social expectations. But it seems that nothing has really changed, because Philippine law appears to pay little attention to personal happiness. Women are expected to marry before having children, and as I mentioned earlier, divorce is almost impossible. Number 6, no divorce. If you want a truly long-lasting marriage in the literal sense of unable to end, then perhaps the Philippines is the place for you. In this country, divorce is extremely difficult. The Philippine Constitution states, "Marriage is an inviolable social institution, the foundation of the family, and shall be protected by the state." One of the strongest forces opposing divorce in the Philippines is the Catholic Church. According to official survey data, around 80% of the country's population is Catholic. Therefore, religion has a tremendous influence on debates regarding divorce rights in the country. Catholicism in the Philippines does not accept divorce between husband and wife, so the country's laws maintain similar principles. Divorce is considered one of the most difficult matters for Filipino citizens. Most church members wish to hold their wedding ceremonies in churches, and before that, they must officially register their marriage with local authorities. If they want to end an unhappy marriage and have the opportunity to remarry in a church, they must receive approval from both the church and the government. Not only is the divorce process in the Philippines complicated, but it is also extremely lengthy and expensive. Some cases take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to be finalized. On top of that, when appearing in court to settle property-related procedures, each person may have to spend around 25,000 pesos. So, as I said, going to the Philippines essentially means entering a marriage that is very difficult to end. Number 5, tamilok. Like many other cuisines around the world, besides delicious dishes that can make tourists drool at first sight, the Philippines also has strange delicacies capable of testing anyone's courage. And tamilok is definitely one of the top names on that list. Tamilok is a fairly popular snack in the Philippines, especially in Palawan and Aklan. As the name suggests, the main ingredient is tamilok, a type of woodworm that lives inside decaying tree trunks or submerged mangrove wood in swamp forests. Tamilok is closely related to oysters and mussels, but the biggest difference is that they do not have shells. Because of this, they must live hidden inside mangrove trunks as a natural layer of protection while surviving in saltwater environments. Since the tree trunk is considered the tamilok's shell, the moment they are taken out and exposed to the air, they die. When a piece of wood is split open, you can see long, thin tamilok worms wriggling inside. Their size usually develops according to the length of the branch where they live. Filipinos also pass around a rather interesting story about the origin of the name tamilok. According to legend, during World War II, 2 American soldiers once saw local people pulling white creatures out of rotten tree trunks. Shocked, one of them shouted to his friend, "Tommy, look!" The sound resembled tamilok, causing the locals to misunderstand it as the creature's name, and from there the name tamilok was born. The most common way to enjoy tamilok is to eat it raw in the style of ceviche. Filipinos often serve this dish on special occasions. In addition, you can easily buy tamilok from roadside street vendors, usually served in small cups at a fairly cheap price. Number 4, oil cauldron bathing. One of the most terrifying forms of torture during the Middle Ages was boiling people alive in giant oil cauldrons, and just hearing about it is enough to make many people shiver. Yet in the Philippines, you can actually be cooked inside a giant cauldron yourself, although fortunately, you still come out completely unharmed. At first glance, this oil cauldron bathing experience may frighten many people, but in reality, it is an extremely famous tourist activity in the Philippines. This special bathing experience is called kawa and can only be found at the Tibio Tropical Resort area in Antique Province, Philippines. The kawa tubs are designed exactly like ancient oil cauldrons, with fire burning underneath to gradually heat the water. In the past, these cauldrons were used to produce sugarcane products at nearby factories. Later, as modern technology appeared, the cauldrons were gradually abandoned. As a result, local people came up with a way to revive them by transforming them into unique hot tubs. The first time visitors see these oil cauldrons, many of them certainly feel nervous because it seems as though they are about to be boiled alive. However, you can rest assured because kawa tubs are made with very thick material, enough to prevent the heat from the fire from directly affecting your body. In addition, the water is always maintained at a comfortably warm temperature, creating a relaxing and pleasant experience. Number 3. Tabo. This may sound a little smelly, but bathrooms in the Philippines have something quite unique that surprises many tourists. When entering a restroom there, you will usually see a bucket of water along with a small dipper. Locals call this dipper a tabo. Filipinos use the tabo to scoop water for cleaning themselves after using the toilet instead of relying only on toilet paper. They prefer the feeling of being cleaned with water rather than simply wiping dry. And of course, they wash their hands thoroughly afterward, so you do not need to worry too much about this habit. Besides personal hygiene, the tabo is also used when bathing or cleaning tiled floors. It is clear that people there care a great deal about cleanliness in their living spaces. However, not using toilet paper or a bidet spray can sometimes make the restroom experience rather inconvenient for tourists. Number 2. Family comes first. For Filipinos, family is always placed above everything else. Family bonds there are not limited only to parents and children, but also extend to relatives and extended family members. In the Philippines, it is completely normal for children to live with their parents until they get married. After starting their own families, they may choose either to continue living with their parents or move elsewhere to begin an independent life. In particular, sending elderly people to nursing homes is not considered morally acceptable in this country. Therefore, most elderly people are cared for directly by their children and grandchildren within the family. For a developing country like the Philippines, having multiple generations living under one roof also helps save a significant amount of living expenses. Of course, this sometimes creates many inconveniences, but because of tradition and the strong sense of connection it brings, Filipinos still deeply enjoy this close-knit style of living. Number 1. No smoking in public places. If you are holding a half-smoked cigarette and casually walking down the street in the Philippines, there is a good chance the police will quickly come looking for you. The reason is that since 2017, the Philippines has officially banned smoking in public places. Cigarettes are also prohibited from being sold within 100 meters of schools, playgrounds, or any area with large numbers of children. Cities are required to provide designated smoking areas, but these locations must be far away from elevators, stairways, gas stations, medical facilities, and food processing areas. Authorized smoking zones are also subject to very strict regulations. They cannot exceed 10 square meters in size, are reserved only for adults, and must be located at least 10 meters away from building entrances or emergency exits. In addition, no smoking signs appear almost everywhere in public spaces. The Philippine government has even established a special anti-smoking task force led by the police and encouraged ordinary citizens to participate in monitoring violations. For acts involving tobacco advertising, sponsorship, or promotional campaigns, penalties can reach up to 400,000 pesos, along with prison sentences of up to 3 years and even the revocation of business licenses. This ban quickly made the streets of the Philippines far less smoky. However, many tourists who were unaware of the regulation ended up being fined by the police during their trips. So, we have just explored some of the prohibitions and strange cultural aspects of the Philippines. From banning gossiping to the highly challenging tamalak dish, this country truly offers countless surprises along with fascinating cultural diversity. Hopefully after this video, you now have a fresh new perspective on the unique laws and customs of the Philippines.